Valve just gave us an update on the release date of the Steam Machine and Steam Frame, so let's figure out if this is another delay or not. How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. This is Deck Ready, my channel all about Steam hardware, and I am back in California. I am at Ray from Xbox Ready's house. I'm gonna bring him in towards the end of the video because we're here for Summer Games Fest, and it never fails when I go out of town, whenever I take a day off. That's when announcements happen. The second I got on the plane from LA to Detroit, my Twitter starts blowing up. I see there's an announcement from Valve. So I'm kind of relieved that there was no price or release date in an odd way, because that would have made this a lot tougher for me. But you know, there's still some new info to talk about related to the Steam Machine and Steam Frame, so I decided to hop on camera here at Ray's house. So this update from Valve mainly focuses on the verified program. They're separating it out for the Steam Machine and the Steam Frame. They both have different requirements, but the main part I want to focus on is that they confirmed that the Steam Machine and Steam Frame will both release this summer. Now, that's a little bit different than the first half of 2026, which, you know, June is technically in summer, but we'll just have to wait 26 days to figure out whether or not this is a delay, or maybe less by the time you see this video. But either way, by the end of June, we'll know if this is a new mini delay or not. And if you're wondering when summer ends, like how far this would extend the release window out, that would give them until September 22nd. So that's a pretty big delay. Like, we're starting to get into fall, obviously, because it's the end of summer. So my fingers are obviously crossed that, you know, they get it out before the end of June. I obviously think that's very important for that to happen. Now, of course, people were upset that we didn't get a price announced with any of this stuff, but naturally, I think that's the whole reason. They're giving themselves a little bit more breathing room. They're just waiting as long as they possibly can to see if RAM prices are going to go down. I hope they're not doing it based entirely on vibes or luck. I hope they have like contact with these RAM manufacturers, with people involved in the industry, like anyone is giving them specific info that says, hey, yeah, you could release it now. You'd obviously have to price it a little bit higher than you'd want to, or you can wait a few months and give yourselves a little bit of breathing room, and it should come down in cost in terms of RAM and storage. So I hope that they have real data if they're choosing to delay, because the longer they wait, the less mindshare you have over people. I understand that, like, when they do the actual official announcement, they start letting pre-orders go out, they let people reserve the system and get excited for it. You're going to recapture at least a few of the people that you lose just from interest waning. But the longer you wait now, the less people are going to be interested and excited. And that's kind of a bummer, because if they released in November, they would have hit the ground running with a ton of momentum, and it's going to be hard to recapture that momentum. Either way, I'm very excited. And I always see people saying, oh, I don't need the Steam Machine anymore. I built my own PC. And I don't think Valve really cares about that, right? Because theoretically, if you're going out of your way to build your own PC, you're going to go for better parts. You're going to be paying a little bit more money than Valve is for their parts, and they're fine with that, right? Like, if you go ahead and build an all AMD PC like I did and put SteamOS on it and make your own Steam Machine, you're going to be buying the same games as the people who buy the Steam Machine. The whole intention behind all of this stuff, of course, is to sell enough of them to keep it worth it to continue updating SteamOS and all that. But most of all, the point is to just sell more Steam games and get a little bit of autonomy away from Windows. And I think either way, no matter what happens, they've already achieved that thanks to the Steam Deck. So to wrap all this up into a point, it's interesting because the Summer Games Fest showcase is in a couple hours. We know that Jeff Keighley was tweeting out. So if like Valve does announce something at Summer Games Fest, you will never see this video. But if there is no Valve announcement at Summer Games Fest, or you do see this video, that pretty much gives me reason to lean towards them giving themselves that big window of all the way till the end of summer, which would mean September 22nd. But you know, it's not so bad getting new video games in the fall. Like, when I was growing up, my parents would literally take our gaming systems, our Xbox, our PS2, our Game Boy Advance SP. They would put it in our dresser, they would kick us out the door and say, come back when it gets dark. But then suddenly when school started, even though I had homework and things to do, because it got dark earlier around 5 or 6 o'clock, I was allowed to play more video games. So like, nostalgically speaking, I like getting new game systems in the fall. That's always when like new consoles release, like the PS5, the PS4, PS4, the PS3, the Xbox 360, the Series X, all of those come out in the fall. So like if we start to approach fall, I guess that's one decent consolation for having to wait almost up to a year for the Steam Machine, because September is only 2 months away from November, which would mean 2 months shy of it being a year waiting for the Steam Machine and the Steam Frame, of course. I know everyone gets mad that I don't talk about the Steam Frame as much, but we're about to, because the second part of this update is, of course, the fact that they announced the new verification system for the Steam Machine and for the Steam Frame. So initially, the way it worked is with other SteamOS handhelds, they didn't use the DeX verification system. They would use a verification system that was for SteamOS as a whole, but it turns out Valve has given each of these three devices, the Steam Deck, the Steam Machine, and the Steam Frame, they're each individual own verification system that obviously is tailored to specific needs for those platforms. So for the Steam Machine, any game that's verified for the Steam Deck will de facto be verified for the Steam Machine, is what they're basically saying, because if a game looks and runs well on the Steam Deck with its default graphics configuration, it's generally speaking gonna look and run just fine on the Steam Machine. So you can just lump in all of those verified Steam Deck games and say, yep, these will be good experiences on the Steam Deck. When it comes to the Steam Frame, they have to be a little bit more stringent with it. Obviously, text readability is the most important of the three platforms, because you have to read in like 3D. You can't have blurry text or like weird rough edges, because that can give you eye strain. So that's going to be a big defining factor for a game getting Steam Frame. Yes, Steam Frame verified versus the other two. But other than that, it has to run at a minimum of 72 FPS sustained. And there's a certain resolution target that needs to be hit, because if you go too low with a VR headset in terms of resolution, then you start getting headaches because of the screen door effect. My famous example, it's not really famous, it's just what happened to me, is I played Resident Evil 7 before it came out on the PSVR 1, and I loved it. It was scary, it was excellent, it was really cool, but that screen door effect was so bizarre that I ended up walking out of the appointment and I threw up in the trash can at PlayStation Experience. So I don't want that happening, so I'm glad that to be verified on the Steam Frame, you need a specific resolution, and obviously the screens, or whatever you would call them, in the Steam Frame are a lot higher resolution than what we had in the original PSVR 1, which is why everything looked like it had a screen door filter over it. But since Ray is being so gracious to let me use his set, I figured I'd call him in to ask him what he thinks about this whole end of summer, first half of 2026 situation for the Steam Machine.
Hey, it's me.
So do you understand the situation?
Yeah, of course. And this is something that's been on my mind ever since the price increases for the Steam Deck have come along, because it just, I feel like they can't take back-to-back L's on the situation, right?
I can't handle it.
They're like, okay, we had to raise the price of the Steam Deck. Everyone's pissed off. Even though we knew it was coming, everyone and their mother knows that there's a RAM shortage going on. It's forcing everyone to increase their prices. I think, like, from everything that we were hearing leading into these price increases, especially on the Xbox side, the story is that Xbox had like no plan at all. They had like nothing prepared for this RAM shortage. But Valve, on the other hand, word on the street was that they were better prepared than most. So I feel like, yes, even though they had to raise the price on the Steam Deck, they are still on track to make, I would say, yeah, like even if we have to wait towards the end of summer, not ideal, but they're still on track for like a late summer, like August, September release for the Steam Machine. However, the question is, what's the price going to be, right? That's what's the question on everyone's mind, right? Ever since that price increase for the Steam Deck, because they were like the last holdouts, right? It was like they were the good guys. Like everyone else was raising prices, but Steam was staying firm. And then eventually they had to give way to that. But I mean, I feel like it's still gonna hit, right? Like people are super excited about this still. And for good reason. Like everyone, like Jimmy was just saying, everyone is like, you could just build a PC. You can build your own PC. Yes, you could do that. But there's still gonna be so many people, no matter what happens in the gaming industry, that just want something easy. A pre-built, and this is gonna be like,
that's you, right?
Yeah,
that's what you want.
I would totally buy that. And especially since Valve has been so dialed in with SteamOS and all the improvements that they've been making on that front over the past couple of years, like this is like the Steam Machine is going to be dialed in and a great piece of hardware. Especially because I game mostly on my Xbox Ally X when it comes to handhelds.
Nice. That's the new handheld to get because it's
Yeah.
$1,000 with the Z2 Extreme.
It's like, might as well get it. But at the same time, like dealing with Windows is, night and day difference between like if you're used to Steam OS, especially out the box. That's what I'm most excited for about the Steam machine. Like just out the box, playing games. Whereas on the Xbox Ally X, I had to sit through like hours of updates in a room with like 4 other people just awkwardly making small talk.
They sent it to me and they gave me the guide that you guys all follow, and I did it myself.
Yeah, and it took hours, and then it takes hours to I don't even know why they give us the option to boot out of Xbox mode. Like, no, like I want to use Xbox mode. I want to use this to play video games, not to make a PowerPoint or some stupid shit like that.
I have a question for right here. What do you think the bigger L is for Valve? Is it a bigger L to release it now at a high price, or is it a bigger L to wait for a better price to release it at, but it takes until the end of September, which is essentially a year after they announced it?
I mean, first one, way bigger L.
Yeah.
First one
That's
is
what
a way bigger L to have to eat a higher price point, and then because you can't really come back from that, I don't think. Historically, like if you think about PS3 coming out of $600
Yeah.
and then reducing the price, Xbox One coming out of $500 with that bundle.
With the Kinect.
With the Kinect, and they were like, okay, we're taking it out, we're lowering the price. I mean, that was cool and all, but once you kind of get that, it's better to just wait for the right conditions, absolutely, even if they have to wait until a year after it was announced. So I feel like people can wait. No one's clamoring to spend money on like a new thing right now.
Pretty much, yeah.
So yeah, it'd be a huge L if they came out sooner and had to raise the price crazy.
Yeah. All right, so that about covers it for all the news. We got to get to Summer Games Fest. I will have Ray's channel, Xbox Ready, linked down in the comments. He's becoming something of a PC gamer. We hooked him up with a Razer Blade laptop, my old laptop. He's been gaming on that. He's using the Ally X and Xbox mode. So if you're into Windows side of gaming, definitely check out Ray's channel. But as always, guys, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and shape on.